because that's the kind of hatred which is emerging. I once heard a term used that hatred is sacred. And I believe that is absolutely true in these days.
Yeah.
So for those of you listening to the sound of my voice, reach out to your friends and neighbors who are Jews and reassure them that you are with them. But more than that, when you drive by a synagogue or a Jewish community center, be observant of the fact that the police are there now too. The FBI is watching as well, because Jews in the United States of America are feeling very insecure. I had
Yes.
the most shocking thing asked of me, John, if you someone were coming after you, who would you go to protect you? Remember, when Jews asked for protection, as Hitler rose to power, people would not protect them. They were afraid for their own lives. So my plea to everyone listening to this podcast is understand what hate means. We have to prove that that kind of hatred is not sacred. And we have to reassure everyone. And by the way, that includes Muslims.
Yeah.
There is no justification for any attack on a Muslim in this country. And so I say this, I said it after the September the 11th tragedy, when I was on KGO that night, and I spoke about this with great passion. We have to temper this hatred, and I hope we can.
I truly hope that we do, because it seems all too familiar to me, the atmosphere of hate that has been created by these terrible events. The U.S. had our 9/11. Israel had its 10/7, and now we're in an atmosphere where our neighbors, it seems, are becoming suspect targets, and we cannot allow a repeat of that. We
just listen to Jewish students on the campuses. All you have to do is listen to what Jewish students are saying. They're afraid. They're taking off their yarmulkes. They're taking off their Stars of David. They're trying not to be conspicuous as Jews in the United States of America. That is the thing that is so horrifying to me. And it should horrify all of our listeners, Jew or Gentile. This is something which is abhorrent to life in the United States.
Yes, we must come together as a civil community and discuss these issues, and know that we are Americans, and that we stand hand in hand on such matters, and cannot let hate rise. And we certainly have seen a rise in hate, not only around this, but certainly over the past several years, certainly since 2016. And we need to remind ourselves of the lessons of 9/11. We need to remind ourselves of the lessons of 2016, because the same undercurrent is there, and we must overcome it.
May I just say, I listened this morning to the reporting on Donald Trump's testimony in court, in which he attacked the judge again, and he attacked the district attorney again, and he attacked the attorney general again. This kind of intolerance, this kind of disregard for the American system is appalling to me. Yeah. And I do want you to understand, I want to draw the direct line between what Donald Trump has wrought in this country and the rise of intolerance. Yes. I always remember the march in Charlottesville, where Donald Trump said there are good people on both sides. Yeah. And thank God we all understand that was not the case. Yeah. But look what it gave birth to and rise to and support for.
Yeah, it's just we need to understand what happened. We need to understand that those around us are peaceful and good and well-intentioned, and we need to come together to overcome hate. John Rothmann, he is the host of of Around the Political World with John Rothmann. Please check it out on whatever platform you get your podcasts on, be that Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart. He's there. He's everywhere you turn. John Rothmann is there.
But Beowulf, the most important thing is I'm with you.
You are with me, and every Monday.
And let me point out we have to talk next week about the upcoming debate, which
Yes.
one will be in the past tense. Who knows where the world will be next week? And may I say one last thing before we adjourn, and that is, I don't want to ignore the international scene. What's happening right now in the Middle East is shocking to me. Jews are terribly concerned. And may I say, no one wishes ill to the people of Gaza. That is not the point here. It is to eradicate an evil called Hamas. There would be no war today if it were not for Hamas. And I want to point out about Ukraine. I must say this. Ukraine has been forced off of the headlines. People are not paying attention. What is happening in Ukraine is an equal abomination. And let us hope that the newly elected Speaker of the House will come to his senses, and the Republicans in the House will come to their senses, and join with the Republicans in the Senate to pass legislation which will give money both to Israel and to the Ukrainians. That's a subject, I know, for a whole different discussion, but we cannot remain silent, and I refuse to do that. Beowulf, thank you so much for indulging me once again.
Thank you, and I will just remind you briefly that at the beginning of this conversation you said that you could not have predicted in 1967 how tumultuous 1968 would be. I know that certain things are going to happen, but I hope that we can avoid the tumult of that very tumultuous year in the remainder of 2023 and in 2024. But
really, don't you want to have a lot to talk about? What's wrong with you?
I would love to have a lot of to talk about, but peace comes first to me, and I am willing to forego my place as a podcast host in the political realm, if that would bring more peaceful things, even if it means talking about things that are slightly more boring and less engaging. I personally am willing to make the sacrifice.
May I do the exceptional thing and agree with you 100%? Ladies and gentlemen, Beowulf Rothman.
John Rothman, around the political world, thank you so much for being with us today on Facepalm America. Well, that was kind of a frightening interview. I mean, given the information that we have on the Trump success in polling at this stage in battleground states, that's very disturbing. And I just want to remind you what we might be in for if we have a second Trump presidency. It's not good. I'll be back in a moment with some details. This is Facepalm America. I'm Beowulf Rockland. Facepalm America. I'm Beowulf Rockland, facepalmamerica.com. So, Trump is ahead in 5 key swing states, according to a New York Times poll. That's very disturbing. Obviously, we got a year to go. But it is very disturbing. Makes me think that might be wise for Joe Biden to step aside. That's my opinion. But regardless, I want folks to remember what we're facing. In case, and I know that temptation is great to forget what happened before January 20th, 2021. It was not a good time in America. It was not a good time for democracy. But it happened. And I think we need to remember it. And I think we need to remember also exactly what we might be facing anew in terms of threats to democracy should Donald Trump get elected again. This from the Daily Beast. Team Trump mulling deploying military to streets day one if elected. Day one. Military in the streets of the United States of America. Looking ahead to the turmoil his re-election could cause, Donald Trump and his allies are reportedly circling an idea to invoke the Insurrection Act on his first day in office, deploying the military to act as domestic law enforcement. So essentially, Trump gets elected, first day, martial law. Many have said it in many different ways, but essentially we cease, even in name, to be a democracy. That is not an idle threat. That is not theoretical. It is very, very possible. And we have to consider that as we decide what to do over the next 12 months. It's very, very important. According to a Washington Post report on Sunday, the drafting of such plans has been officially outsourced thus far to a coalition of right-wing think tanks working under the title Project 2025. It was identified as an immediate priority for the hypothetical resurrected Trump administration, internal communications obtained by the newspaper showed. In response to questions from the Post, Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung provided a statement. Quote, President Trump is focused on crushing his opponents in the military, Freudian slip there, primary election, and then going on to beat crooked Joe Biden, he said. President Trump has always stood for law and order and protecting the Constitution. Dictator time. That's what we're facing. Think about it. And then make your choice. I want to thank Ace Elson and Rosabelle Hine, the producers of this program. They do an excellent job. And I want to thank you for listening, and I want to urge you to share this episode with a friend. Tell a friend about Facepalm America. Direct them, if you like, to facepalmamerica.com or just any podcast platform that they care to listen on. If you want to call or message, you can do that at 202-656-6271. And until next time, enjoy the day.